morning. It is the 28th of May 2025, a lovely Wednesday morning. It is also the International Day of Action for Women's Health. Here in Kenya, it is a very special day. It is a day that we hold our national prayer breakfast, usually held on the very last Thursday of May, but this time around they're breaking with tradition and holding it on a Wednesday morning at the Safari Park Hotel. Over 2,000 leaders will be in attendance, but we'll be bringing you all that later on the show. Karibu sana. This is the Morning Cafe. My name is Freddy Ndimuli. A quick look at the dailies this morning, and we start off with Taifa Leo. Wanasema washauri haramu, ni swali wanauliza. Wakili awasilisha kesi mahakamani kupinga uteuzi wao, akisema ulikiuka taratibu, sheria na katiba ya nchi. Wako hapa wengine wao: David Ndii, Monica Juma, Jaoko Oburu, Professor Edward Kisiangani aliyekuwa katibu mkuu katika wizara ya ICT, Moses Kuria aliyekuwa waziri wakati mmoja, Professor Abdi Gulie aliyekuwa wakati mmoja commissioner wa IEBC, Harriet Chigai, Joseph Boineta aliyekuwa mkuu wa polisi wakati mmoja na Profesa Makau Mutua ni baadhi tu ya washauri wa rais ambao sasa kesi imewasilishwa mahakamani kupinga uteuzi wao. Habari kuu pale kwenye ukurasa mbele wa gazeti hili. Other quick highlights: Daily Nation wanasema patients abandoned, and we'll be telling you more about that later. RSF weapons trail on the Standard, and it's a very blue front page. On the Star, flagship 250 billion shilling road to reshape 2027 race. They even have an artistic impression of which road this is. We'll be talking more about that later. People Daily, why more Kenyans are becoming poorer. Are you feeling it? Do you agree with this headline? Do you feel like you're becoming poorer? Matters economic. And on the Business Daily, World Bank 638% tax rate for top earners. Wow. Hey, mambo yanachemka pole pole. Now, those are the local dailies, and we'll be looking at some of the discussions there with these three gentlemen, members of parliament: Senator Joe Nyoto of Moranga, David Kiplagat, MP Soi, and Nabi Nabwera, MP Lugari constituency. Do stand by for that. It'll be coming your way at around 6:30 this morning. Let's take a look at what our neighbors are talking about today on the Daily Monitor. Remember that apology by President Yoweri Museveni. It's hitting the headlines. Ugandans react to Museveni apology. Welcome, but a section of Ugandans have said President Museveni and First Lady Janet Museveni's apology for any mistakes they may have made while in power are welcome, but should be followed by action to ensure those ills and those happening now also end. That story was on page 3 of this paper. I recall a time when retired president, the late Daniel Arap Moi, also said, kama nimekosea mutu, anisamehe. Na kama kuna mutu amenikosea, pia yeye ninamsamehe. When he did that, he was coming to the very tail end of his rule in Kenya. Is that an indication of Yoweri Museveni's time in power in Uganda? Another story given prominence there on the front page of the Daily Monitor is on registering for the national identity cards, how to register for national identity card, and they've used an example of Yoweri Museveni's ID there. About 17.2 million, those are the number of new applicants for national ID cards expected by NIRU, which is a unit that's supposed to engage in that registration. 200,000 shillings is the amount to be paid for changes in ID particulars such as name correction. Nusistuke sana, this is Ugandan money. In Kenya, they say if you need to renew your ID, it's about 1,000 bob. Then I think it was scrapped. I don't know what people are paying right now. Registration for dual citizenship, renewal of national ID, they've just broken it down for Ugandans to understand. If at all you need a new ID, this is exactly what you do. IGG names most corrupt districts. Matters accountability on the very top strip of this paper. The Inspectorate of Government has named Kampala as the most corrupt district in Uganda. Ni kama two counties. Hata hapa Kenya nafikiri Nairobi is the lead, with the city recording the highest number of corruption cases between July and December of last year. These are the stories Ugandans are talking about, and as far as the Daily Monitor is concerned, with their motto being truth every day. Still in Uganda, let's take a look at the new vision. New diabetes type in Uganda. Scientists reveal causes, prevalence, and how to manage condition. That story is on page 7. And it should be very worrying for Ugandans that there's a new type of diabetes. New vision breaks with tradition. Usually kuna picha hapa ya Museveni akisalamia ng'ombe ama akikata ndizi. Jana alikuwa anamwagia maji mti. Leo anaongea kuhusu package for which is awaiting retiring UPDF generals. Most of them are retiring. Now this is very interesting. If you compare this retirement of most major Ugandan generals and that apology by President Yoweri Museveni and the return, at least to the public eye, of General Saleh, who's also a president of Yoweri Museveni, now saying he's going to manage Muhoozi Kainerugaba, the president's son. What exactly is happening in Uganda? If you put two and two together, kuna vile succession inakuwa planned. Good package awaits retiring UPDF generals. Katanga defense pins witness over Rutoro words. That's something else they're talking about. Pale Jum Puga's new party, what it means for the opposition. And these are just some of the stories on the New Vision. From Uganda, we cross the border and we can even cross the Lake Victoria into Tanzania. And Tanzania is racing against time on natural gas development. I was hoping they would have what they did in Parliament yesterday. They really took time to discuss Kenya. Yes. Na Wakenya hawakufurahia, wamewasalamia kweli kweli. I think it was also discussed in our Senate here. Tanzania racing against time on natural gas development. The country discovered approximately 57.5 trillion cubic feet of natural gas over a decade ago and has made significant progress in the last 3 years. But there is now an urgent need to complete it. Yes. Wakicheza itakuwa ni kama ile talo oil ya Uganda ya pale Turkana, tukakaa mwishowe tukaifunga na tukasahau hiyo maneno and we moved on. Other stories there, in fact, they're actually saying 2050. That's the year when the United Nations expects to achieve net zero emissions globally. Oh, I thought they were saying they're going to be ready in 2025. 2025 elections, opposition to fight among themselves, not just CCM. The divergence is expected to set the tone for intense competition among opposition camps as each seeks to convince public of its approach. Remember, even the main opposition party, Chadema, has split 3 ways. There's Chauma and G55. Meanwhile, Tundu Lissu is still behind bars. Tanzania's modern kidney facility, a game changer for African healthcare. That's something positive from Tanzania. The story is on page 2 on a new kidney facility. Pale juu CRDB, which is a bank fitted as best bank offering Islamic services in Tanzania. And finally, in matters budget, ministry tables 76 billion shilling budget to protect special groups and empowerment. This is as far as the citizen is concerned. And if you have about 1,000 Tanzanian shillings, you can buy it. But 60 bob Kenyan money will also give you a copy of this paper today. Still in Tanzania, tuangazie gazeti la Mwananchi. Samia asimame hapo, Lissu pale mechi dakika 90. Heche. Uni Heche anasema Samia asimame hapo. Lissu pale mechi dakika 60. Ni masuala ya siasa, lakini wa Kiswahili wameikoroga hapo. I think they're just saying tuendelee hivyo hivyo. Samia kaa hapo hapo kanyagia. Migogoro ya ndoa tishio bilioni 10 kuitatua. Dodoma, wanasema Wizara ya Maendeleo ya Jamii, Jinsia na Makundi Maalum imeandaa mkakati mahsusi wa kukabiliana na migogoro ya ndoa ila kuimarisha ustawi. Watu kule wanaachana, wanagombana, migogoro, ndoa zinavunjika. Na hii ni habari inapatikana kwenye ukurasa wa mbele. Hapa Kenya sidhani kama unaweza pata habari kama hii kwenye ukurasa wa mbele wa gazeti lolote isipokuwa gazeti moja la Nairobian. Habari nyingine kuu pale ni mwendo kasi majanga. Misongamano vituoni yaendelea, abiria wasimulia madhila ya kugombea usafiri. Baadhi wajeruhiwa, ahadi za mabasi mapya zaendelea kutolewa. Yani tu ni ile confusion inakuwa pale kama pale Machakos bus station, watu wanapigania kuingia kwa mabasi. Na wana mabasi mengi, lakini wanapenda kusafiri, barabara zao mbovu, alafu wanang'ang'ania hata kuingia kwa magari. Alafu kuna mwendo kasi, gari hata ifiki, inaanguka, alafu wanasema wako mbele ya watu wengine. Jirani akuje pole pole. Mtoto wa miaka 10 mbaroni akidaiwa kuiba gari. Mtoto wa miaka 10 mbaroni akidaiwa kuiba gari. Miaka 10. Maswala kule Tanzania. Pale juu Benson Kigaila na mikakati ya kuisuka upya Chauma. Hicho ni chama kingine cha upinzani kule Tanzania, wakiendelea kujiandaa kwa uchaguzi mkuu baadaye mwaka huu. Dakika 10 baada ya saa 12 asubuhi. Hizi ndizo baadhi ya habari ambazo zinaangaziwa sio hapa nchini tu, bali katika kanda hii ya Afrika Mashariki. Tutarejelea kuangalia magazeti ya hapa nyumbani in a short while. Sasa tuangazie hali ya anga, na tunaanza na bara la Afrika. From afar you can see where the cloud cover is across Africa. Not a lot of cloud cover in comparison to areas around Asia and the larger Indian Ocean. And I think hiyo ni kama imenyeshea internet, it's taking longer. This is courtesy of Zoom.earth. A lot of cloud cover. Some has returned over the Lake Victoria region, and I don't know why it's taking too long. Probably we'll come back and take a look at it later. But for now, let's come back home and take a look at various cities and towns and see what's happening. In Nakuru, promises to be mostly cloudy. It is 15 degrees currently. Highs of 24 degrees, a bit of rainfall expected, but not so much. 1.0 millimeters of rain. 24 degrees Celsius. It's comfortable weather for Nakuru, but not so bad. Mount Kenya region, and we focus on Meru, same kind of temperature as Nakuru. 15 degrees Celsius, feels like 14. Mostly cloudy for the better part of the day. 24 degrees, that's a high, and it simply mirrors what's happening in Nakuru. Ukiwa Nakuru ama Meru, same temperature, but in Meru, nothing expected in as far as precipitation is concerned. Let's go further up north. Turkana, quite hot this morning, 27 degrees Celsius, feels like 28, but also mostly cloudy. Highs of 35 degrees, so quite hot in Turkana. I doubt there'll be any rainfall there. Yes, 0 millimeters of rain in the northern part of the country, specifically Turkana. Over Lake Victoria, the town that is a talk of late, and this is Homa Bay. Remember, Homa Bay will be hosting this year's Madaraka Day celebrations in a few days' time. That's Sunday, the 1st of June this year. President William Ruto will be leading the nation in celebrating Madaraka Day. I think the 64th Madaraka Day. It is cloudy there, a bit warm this morning, 20 degrees Celsius. Feels actually like 24. Highs of 27 degrees, that's the highest. Precipitation 0 millimeters. You can actually realize that there's not a lot of rainfall across the country today. And most of the places we've checked from Rift Valley, Mount Kenya region, Rift Valley up north, as well as around Lake Victoria, not a lot of rain. Let's go closer to the Indian Ocean. Take a look at Lamu. 26 degrees Celsius, quite warm this morning. It actually feels warmer at 29 degrees, cloudy. But here, there could be a chance of rain. Highs of 28 degrees. Precipitation, 1.8 millimeters, which is probably the highest we've seen so far. Yes, so Lamu at least kuna kamvua kadogo, lakini pia joto ni kingi. And finally Nairobi, 16 degrees Celsius, cloudy for the better part of the day. Chances of rain, a bit of it. Highs of 24 degrees coming your way much later in the afternoon. And as far as precipitation is concerned, 1.8 millimeters, same as Lamu. So yes, but this is nothing to worry about. Even yesterday kulinyesha kidogo in Nairobi. Tuone kama Zoom.earth imeamka, tuangazie the entire continent, na ni kama wamezima hiyo stima kule. Anyway, let's come back to Nairobi and take a look at the traffic situation at exactly 14 minutes past the hour. All right. As far as traffic in Nairobi, and this is courtesy of Google Maps. Take a look at the major tributaries. This is a Wednesday morning, and of course I can tell you for sure, because we are going to be having the National Prayer Breakfast at Safari Park Hotel, which is on Thika Road. We do expect a lot of traffic on that road this morning, with all the dignitaries, including the president, heading to that direction. So if at all you're planning to use Thika Road today, that event starts at exactly, I think, 8 a.m., but all the dignitaries will be making their way there at least before the president arrives. So starting at 6:30, magari yatakuwa yamejaa kwa hiyo barabara, especially heading out of town. I can already see a long stretch of red pale after all SOPs. Inafika hadi pale KCA University. After that, it's a bit smooth, but once you get to the Pangani interchange, and it's building up significantly. But we'll try and take a look at this traffic situation at around hour, or even at 7 a.m. because I know Thika Road will be troubled this morning. Areas around on the Outer Ring Road building up slowly further. Tasia Pipeline, hiyo ni kawaida, heading towards Donholm. Kangundo Road, it's building up, but on the opposite side of the road, heading towards Komarok, Kayole, and Jiru areas. Meanwhile, on the opposite side, it's green. If you're heading towards Outer Ring Road, towards the city center, nothing much to worry about. Jogoo Road, it's building up significantly. Areas around Makadara, and even before you get to that Buruburu Junction, I can already see a stretch of yellow there. Mbotela area, it's building up, and City Stadium roundabout is getting busy as well. Haile Selassie Avenue, both sides of the road around Marikiti, there's some business there, meaning that watu wameamuka na wanaenda kazini. Meanwhile, wakubwa watakuwa wakiwaombea pale Safari Park. The other major tributaries into town are looking green. That's Wayakiwe, Ngong Road, Langata Road, and Mombasa Road as well. That's a traffic situation. I don't know if we have the quote of the day today.
Each failure, rather than a defeat, serves as a step towards success, moving us ever closer to victory with persistence, resilience, and unwavering belief in ourselves.
Exactly 17 minutes past the hour. Let's take a look at the dailies this morning. Washauri haramu ni swali kwenye ukurasa wa mbele wa Taifa Leo. Wakili awasilisha kesi mahakamani kupinga uteuzi wao, akisema ulikiuka taratibu, sheria ya katiba ya nchi. Hawa walisema wanalipwa takriban bilioni 1 pesa za Kenya. Lakini kuna wakili anasema hiyo ni haramu na wanafaa kurejesha hizo pesa. Wakili wa Nairobi, Bwana Suiyanka Lempa, amewasilisha kesi mahakamani akiomba amri ya kuwashurutisha washauri wa Rais William Ruto warejeshe mamilioni ya pesa walizolipwa kama mishahara na marupurupu, akisema uteuzi wao ulifanywa kinyume cha sheria. Habari kamili kwenye ukurasa wa pili. Watarejesha shilingi bilioni 1. David Ndii sijui atatuambiaje kule X. Kwingineko, wezi waandaa karamu ya sakramenti na divai kanisani. Hawa ni kama wamekuja sana. Waliingia kanisani, wakaiba divai na sakramenti na wakakula mingi na wakakunywa hiyo wine. Nakwambia hiyo kuna dhambi zingine hata Yesu nafikiri atasema sasa hapa mlikuja zaidi. Kabila hepa Kinshasa na kutua Goma. Aliyekuwa rais wa DR Congo Joseph Kabila alirejea nchini humo Jumatatu jioni kutoka Afrika Kusini, lakini hakuenda Kinshasa, alienda Goma. Goma ni wapi? Kule M23 wanatawala. Pale juu kwenye ukurasa wa mbele gazeti hili anasema utata kuhusu mali ya Kibaki. Familia ya dai aliacha shilingi milioni 50 pekee. Walalamishi watofautiana. Wanasema hapana, hapana hiyo. Milioni 50 ni kidogo wewe, wacha yako hiyo. Masuala ya kotini. Mkasa Liverpool ikisherehekea, gari liliingia kwenye umati wa mashabiki wa bingwa hao wa EPL. Ni habari ya kutatanisha hapo. Wengine wanasherehekea, alafu janga linawakumba. Gazeti la Taifa Leo. Let's take a look at the Daily Nation, and they talk about matters health. At least 3 counties where doctors are on strike, and they say patients abandoned. That's a big story there on the front page of this paper. UHC medics have been on the street for weeks. Now doctors are boycotted duties, citing pay delays. This is negligence. Expectant mothers cannot access safe delivery services. Children with life-threatening conditions are being turned away, and other patients with chronic diseases are missing critical treatment as a standoff between striking doctors and counties takes a deadly turn. The story is on page 2, and a picture of these doctors there who are on strike. 8,571 is the number of medics the government hired in 2020 to help contain the COVID-19 pandemic. They have been on the streets for 6 weeks now demanding better employment terms. The strike by the universal health coverage workers, who include clinical officers, nurses and pharmacists, has disrupted operations in hospitals nationwide. The majority who depend on the public health system are bearing the brunt of the dangerous stalemate as hospitals prematurely discharge patients, while the situation was already dire. The crisis is snowballing into a national catastrophe. Doctors in various counties have now joined the strike with numerous grievances, including salary delays and punishing schedules because of shortage of personnel. And it's very sad because doctors in Kenya, this used to be a very prestigious career. It used to pick the creme de la creme of our society, guys who scored straight A's, and now they're always on the streets demanding for better working conditions, for even pay, hawalipwi, mambo imekuwa ngumu. Kenya imekuwa tu ngumu. Pale juu, Samido amejipata kwenye front page of the Daily Nation. Sema Ruto one-time song, police now punish Samido. What started as a moment of fun for Mugithi Maestro Samuel Mushoki, popularly known as Samido, has quickly escalated into disciplinary proceedings with his police job on the line. A recent performance at a club has upset police chiefs. Yes. Kumbuka huyu ni afisa wa polisi. We know him best as a Mugithi musician. Mugithi. Yes. The story is on page 7. Sijua anamwambia atamfanyia nini sasa. Acha tuangazie. Wamesema Samido faces the music of a one-time chance. Popular Mugithi musician is also a police officer, has been transferred from Central Region headquarters to the Anti-Stock Theft Unit and faces further disciplinary action. Anti-Stock Theft Unit hawakwangi Nairobi, na hawakwangi Kiambu, na hawakwangi Murang'a. Kule kuna Mugithi, wako the northern part of the country. Sasa sijui ataenda huko kuimbia nani Mugithi. Alisema one time. All right. The back page of this paper, what it takes to organize Kipkeno Classic meeting. Matter sports on the entire page, pale nyuma. That's the Daily Nation this morning. The Standard has only one story on the front page against a blue background, which is very, I think, is the most striking. If at all you see all the papers spread somewhere like I have them spread on my table here, this color is very striking. They only have one story, and I like the fact that it's probably the neatest front page we've seen today. RSF weapons trail, and these talk about a UN report which has linked Kenya to the Sudan RSF arms supply using JKIA for logistics. I remember a recent interview by the PS in charge of foreign affairs, CS in charge of foreign affairs, who's also Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi, denying vehemently any involvement of Kenya in whatever is happening in Sudan. Now a UN report seems to disagree with him. Wanasema Kenya, hiyo JKIA, hapo ndio kila kitu inafanyika. And this is a huge indictment. Despite being branded as humanitarian missions, dozens of flights ferrying arms, drones and ammunition to Sudan's battlefields have passed through Kenyan airspace, according to experts. The US has sanctioned RSF commander Hemedti, currently hosted by Kenya, again, accusing his militia of orchestrating ethnic massacres, mass rapes and other atrocities. A deadly strike on May 3rd exposed the operation when Turkish drones supporting Sudan's army destroyed a cargo plane at Nyala airport. The story is on page 4, and in that strike, a Kenyan pilot died. So this story has been given prominence on this paper today. The story is on page 4. How Nairobi became entangled in Sudan's bloody proxy civil war. The other story, I think interesting inside the pages, because the Standard has not given us any other highlight on the front page, is on page 5. They talk about Ahmed Nasir must prove allegations of corruption in courts, judiciary insists. This is lawyer Ahmed Nasir Abdullahi, who's been making a lot of accusations against the judiciary, mostly on social media. Now he's being told you have to do it in court. 66 days left before the CHAN tournament 2024. Stadiums are not ready in Kenya, but Kenya says, I will do it. 66 days only, we will do it. Kama IBC hatuipati hata na 2 years. Mutamaliza hizo stadium na 66 days. Acha maneno yako. All right. That story of Gachagua bullying Mount Kenya musicians into submission after visit is also there on page 8 of this paper. All right. On the back page, Maresca targets European history for Chelsea in Conference League final today. This is Real Betis hosting Chelsea for the Conference League fixture at 10 p.m. tonight. That's the Standard paper. From the Standard to the Star, flagship 250 billion shilling road to reshape 2027 race. They're talking about the Rironi to Mau Summit road. Rironi is just actually here at Limuru. Many people do not understand the road. It's from Limuru all the way to that junction that heads towards Kericho once you pass Nakuru. That's where Mau Summit is. So Rironi, Mau Summit. So this is the road that will be taking you to Nakuru and towards Eldoret. So they say it's a boost for Ruto as Rironi dual carriageway races for takeoff. And the Stars even give us an artistic impression of the 6-lane road. Facts about Rironi Mau Summit Highway project, it's 233 kilometers long. It will have 6 service lanes on both sides. The bidders are China Roads Bridges Corporation plus NSSF and Shandong High Speed Road and Bridge International Engineering Limited. Duration of operation is 30 years. I think that's the operation of the road after it's been built. Yeah. If they do this, even I agree it is going to be a game changer. But this is just an artistic impression. It is yet to start. It is on pages 4 and 5. If at all it's going to be a game changer for President William Ruto for 2027 race, then it means that it should be ready by then. Yeah? President William Ruto appears poised to silence critics as the Kenya National Highways Authority moves to fast-track the Rironi Mau Summit dual carriageway. The authority's Tuesday announcement revealed bids from 2 Chinese firms, I've mentioned them, for building the road. The development comes just 3 weeks after Ruto's Beijing visit, where he negotiated 650 billion shillings infrastructure package. All right. We also have a picture of the Deputy President Kithure Kindiki inspecting construction of the 750-kilometer Isiolo-Mandera Road. Hii ni ile ilikuwa itoke Ramu, iende Kotulo, iende huko kwingine, ni kama imeanza. It is there. The other story on the front page of the Star, police blocked from seeing MP Koimburi at Karen Hospital. Investigations into what happened, or what may have happened to the Juja MP, George Koimburi, going on. Police yesterday released a statement. They've already arrested a friend to George Koimburi, whom they say his car was used in the abduction. They still deny any police involvement in the same. That story, at least, I've not seen it on any other of the front pages, but at least on the Star they have it. One more story there. 1 killed, 17 hurt as church collapses in city. At least 1 person was killed and 17 others were injured after a building they were in collapsed in Waroko, Nairobi. The semi-permanent 2-story building collapsed on Sunday night. This is according to police and residents. Meanwhile, senators have clashed over population and revenue share. The debate over the ideal formula for sharing national revenue among counties has once again divided the Senate, with lawmakers pushing for parameters that favor their regions. This could see the return of discussions around 1 shilling, 1 vote. Eh? Kwanga 1 man, 1 vote, 1 shilling. Right. There's a story here about Ruto and Raila on page 6 in their first joint Nyanza tour after ODM-UDA partnership. So President William Ruto and ODM leader Raila Odinga will on Saturday begin their first joint tour of Nyanza region since they signed a historic partnership deal. Of course, this is ahead of the Madaraka Day celebrations. The president will be there in Kisumu on Saturday and then in Homa Bay on Sunday for the celebrations. That's the Star. People Daily, why more Kenyans are becoming poorer. There's a big headline there, and they quote a World Bank report, but this is between 2019 and 2022, about a 5-year report, so it's not the latest Musianze Siasa ya kusema ati tunajaribu kusema no. This is a World Bank report prepared between 2019 and 2022, and it shows that Kenyans are becoming poorer. Yes. Elsewhere, Mount Kenya artists receive backlash, forced to eat humble pie. We'll be discussing that and whether or not we should call this bullying by the former deputy president. Kajiado man moves to court seeking 2026 general election date. Yes, wanasema ikifikisha 2027, that will be the 6th year. That's according to this paper. Business Daily, World Bank 638% tax rate for top earners. Initially it was 35%. Sasa wanasema iongezwe. Low and mid-income earners to pay 25% from 30%. Well, that's welcome. Pay between 500,000 and 800,000 to attract 35%, but the World Bank wants it to go to 38%. Wafinywe zaidi. How KQ passengers lost 4.6 billion shillings on ticket expiry breach. It's another story on the front page of the Business Daily. On the ticker, World Bank wants workers on 32,000 shillings exempted from SHIF and home levy. Will it happen? Absa Bank posts 3.6% profit growth, and Kenol Kobil ex-CEO segment to pay fine for secret 6% stake. That's the Business Daily. Once again, a reminder of the gentlemen who will be in studio for State of the Nation in a short while. Senator Joe Nyoto of Murang'a, David Kiplagat, MP Soi, and Nabii Dabwera, MP Lugari constituency. Do stand by for that, coming your way in a few minutes' time. But before that, let's take a look at the cartoons today. Tuone karakacha za sema nini. And we start off with a cartoon on the Standard. Two frames here. Kwa pande moja kuna the annual national prayer breakfast. Na mwananchi pale ako na mzigo wa taxes kwa mguu wake, lakini anasema we got to pray just to make it a day. Hiyo sijui kama watu wengi watashika. There used to be a song, a very popular song, asema we got to pray just to make it a day. Yeah. They're saying that on this side. On the second side kuna watu wenye tumbo kubwa na loot. Mzigo yao ni how to carry the loot. Huyu mzigo yake ni how to carry the taxes. Na anasema tena we got to pray. Pray lakini si ile ya kuomba, ni ya kunyemelea. We got to pray just to make it a deal. Ule mtu atanikumbusha hiyo wimbo ndani aliimba, takuwa mbele sana. Remember, today is a National Prayer Breakfast Day. The cartoon on the Star. Maswala ya the tiff between Kenya and Tanzania. Hawa ni wanasiasa wa Tanzania kule bungeni wakifokea wa Kenya, wakijaribu kusitiri rais wao Samia Suluhu Hassan. Wakenya upande hii ndio hawa wamekuwa represented na green, red and black. Tunajua ni nyinyi na white. Nyinyi mnaangazia tu simu. Mnaambiwa you've crossed the line. Nyinyi mnaangazia tu simu na matusi. Wale wengine kule wanasitiri rais wao. That's a cartoon on the Star. On the People Daily, kuna jamaa anajiangalia kwenye kioo. Anasema I think I'm addicted to just looking at myself in the mirror. A caricature of President William Ruto. Lakini kwenye kioo akijiangalia anaona nani? Anaona the second president of the Republic, Daniel Toroitich arap Moi. That's a cartoon on the People Daily. Are we saying William Ruto ni kama Moi? Sio mimi nimesema ni Stano, anakuanga People Daily, mumtafute huko mtaka kurusha maana. And finally on the Daily Nation, matters Mount Kenya. Kuna jamaa ameshika makasi upande moja, mwingine ameshika maji inamwaga tu shilingi. A sprinkler just pouring money on the mountain. That's the Deputy President, Professor Kithure Kindiki on one side. Yule mwingine wa mlima yule amevaa crown, the former Deputy President, ako na makasi na anasema you apologize or you will be cut off. This is a threat he issued to Mount Kenya musicians. These are some of the discussions we'll be having right here on Morning Cafe with some of my panelists after the break. Remember, later on we'll be heading to Safari Park for more on the National Prayer Breakfast, which is taking place today. Over 2,000 leaders led by President William Ruto will be attending that. We might be taking a look at the traffic situation later just to see how Thika Road will be behaving, because most dignitaries are heading towards Safari Park Hotel. Let's take a break. You're watching Morning Cafe.
world is changing every day, and so should we, for the better. Each week, we tackle the big why, the question that should be on everyone's minds. Why isn't this fixed yet? Deforestation, global warming, and the adverse effects of climate change. The future isn't just something that we inherit, it's something that we create. Join us on The Green Fix as we tell the stories of those who refuse to give up. When it comes to fixing the planet, there is no time to waste. Join me, Shiksha Arora, on Thursdays at 9 p.m. on The Green Fix as we look into the big why, you and I.
For comprehensive information and education on your health, Body Garage is here.
Don't allow anyone to pluck out your good tooth as long as it is strong and stable.
Cancer doesn't start today and you get the symptoms tomorrow. By the time you pick it or the time it is manifesting in you, probably will be there about 5 to 10 years.
The eye is the window to the rest of the body.
Don't forget to stay hydrated.
And of course, you at home do take your water.
So the ultimate test is actually you check your urine. Your urine should be clear.
Clear like the water?
Yes. Should be able to see the other side of the urine. If your urine is colored or has changed color, you cannot see the other side, then you have not taken enough water.
Don't forget regular health checkups. Early detection saves lives.
I want the message be, we can prevent cervical cancer. We prevent cervical cancer in several ways. You have young girls and even somebody who's above that age, you can pay at least every 3 years. Somebody should have a pap smear done.
If you are 40, 45, 50, going upwards, once a year, please go see a doctor. Yeah, it's just for normal routine maintenance.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Jiunge nasi tunapoangazia safari za viongozi bora. Kutoka kwa ushindi mkubwa hadi masomo magumu.
Wakati wetu kwamba wasichana si wa kusoma, ni wa kuolewa, ng'ombe ipatikane, wazazi wakuwe watajiri.
Tunashughulikia yote.
I wish I were a better investor.
My parents taught me how to look for things for myself.
Tazama Mfahamu Kiongozi, ambapo kila kipindi kimejaa maarifa, mikakati na hadithi za kukuza azma yako.
For me to succeed, I have to fight.
Kila Alhamisi saa 1:30.
Police have discovered dubious discrepancies between the video that was making rounds online and the site where Georgia MP George Koimburi was discovered.
Upon comparing vegetations and road dimensions at the scene with those in the video, it was established that the two did not match.
According to Inspector General of Police Douglas Kanja, a caretaker of the farm where Koimburi was found, which ostensibly belonged to the businessman cum politician Jimmy Wanjigi, denied seeing anything related to the unfolding events on Monday morning.
Moses Kariuki, the caretaker of the coffee farm, which is owned by one Jimmy Wanjigi, stated that he had not witnessed such an incident.
While discrediting Koimburi's statement, IG Kanja said the MP was driven to the hospital using his own vehicle. As attempts to question the hospital where he purportedly received first aid also proved futile.
The hospital did not disclose the nature of the treatment or the first aid administered, making it difficult to assess the extent of the alleged injuries.
Also, Kanja doubted Koimburi's information about which hospital he was first taken to and what services he was provided with and by whom.
The investigating team has interviewed and recorded statements from 5 individuals, with several more expected to provide their accounts.
We want to say shame on anybody who thinks a Mheshimiwa like this can abduct himself. And you want us police to believe your story?
Kanja went on to say the MP will be questioned at the earliest moment possible, as detectives were previously not allowed to see him.
The MP only resurfaced yesterday, coinciding with the abduction claims.
IG Kaja, please, you can tell that story to the bands, not to Kenyans. It doesn't make sense. Abductions and all forms of extrajudicial processes must come to an end in this country.
Speaker of the National Assembly Moses Wetangula also directed members of the Security Committee to visit Koimburi in hospital and report to Parliament on his condition as part of his call for a parliamentary investigation into alleged kidnapping.
The IG and other security agencies, including the Minister for Security, so that they can be able to get at least some preliminary facts.
The Speaker also advised members of Parliament and public at large to be more vigilant about their security in efforts to avoid similar circumstances in future. The legislator, who is presently receiving treatment at a hospital in Karen, Nairobi, has been on government's radar since he accused Kenya Kwanza of spending over 13 billion shillings of taxpayers' money to woo African presidents to support former Prime Minister Raila Odinga's failed bid for the AUC chairpersonship. Mike Kagwango, TV 47, Nairobi.
Yes, indeed. That story seems to have disappeared from most of the front pages today, but at least it's on the front page of the Star. Say police blocked from seeing MP Koimburi at Karen Hospital. I'm sure it is on the inside pages of these papers as well, only that they've chosen to focus on other pressing matters. A quick reminder that today we're going to be having the National Prayer Breakfast. Starting at 8 a.m., we'll be heading there as well at the Safari Park Hotel. And I'm sure a lot of activity already going on. We do have live pictures there from the Safari Park Hotel. Choirs, musicians already entertaining the more than 2,000 leaders who are expected to attend, of course led by the President, for this year's National Prayer Breakfast, whose theme is Rise and Rebuild. And this happens every year on the very last Thursday of May. Today being a Wednesday, it means they've broken with tradition. Rise and Rebuild, the National Prayer Breakfast. We'll cross over later, but back to studio this morning. I'm privileged to have with me MP Nabi Nabwera. He's a Member of Parliament for Lugari constituency. Karibu sana.
Asante. Good morning, all our viewers from all parts of the country.
Yes.
Today again, privileged to be here.
It's good to have you in studio. Next, Bwana Nabwera, we have Joe Nyoto, Senator Murang'a County. Karibu sana, Senator.
Asante.
Let's focus on this story about the Juja MP, George Koimburi, and what we've seen over the last 48 hours or so. We've seen the police come out and issue a statement really expressing doubt about the authenticity of the allegations or the claims that the MP was abducted. Both of you are members of parliament. Both of you enjoy VIP security. I don't know what your feeling is about the police reaction and that this could happen to your colleague, yet the reactions we are seeing is that most people are criticizing and doubting whether or not it was a real case.
Yeah, thank you. First, I have a number of problems with the police statement. When a matter of this nature happens, it is not simple to just wake up and bring a long statement raising doubt. What I've said, following what has happened in this country, the murder of Ongondo Were in a busy road next to a roundabout which is manned by police, a road which normally you would expect that it has undercover policemen, because a busy road that all VIPs going to Karen use, and it just happened with 5 bullets and there was no response from anyone. Then you would not want to hurry to dismiss what happened to Koimburi. More so that it has happened to many other people. Abductions have happened. People being arrested forcibly, including Honorable Oluoch of Madare. He was picked in the middle of a petrol station with masked people, only to turn out to be that they were police. You remember when we were having the Mandamano time, and many others. The president himself confirmed that people who had been abducted have all been released to the family, meaning abductions really happen. Now, why I have an issue with the police statement is, if you look at the physical appearance of Koimburi, and people say you abduct, you mean you can hurt yourself to the level of being unconscious to prove a political point. It is not lost to all of us that he was abducted outside a church. People saw. The wife was wailing. He was thrown out of the vehicle. She was hurt. Be it as it may, I want to go with what the Speaker of the National Assembly said yesterday, that we did a quick investigation and that he directed the committee of the House to take up the matter so that we can bring this thing to an end logically. And I would want to say, if police have evidence that Koimburi abducted himself, then he should be charged in court of law, rather than just making sweeping statements. And in any case, why would they allow him to abduct himself? It is within their reach. It is important to note that Koimburi had complained that his security had been disarmed, his security had been withdrawn, and there we are. There we are. Why was security disarmed or withdrawn? Why? Yeah.
So he did not enjoy police protection at the time of this incident?
That's what it looks like.
All right.
I haven't spoken to him. I'm hoping today I'll have an opportunity to go and visit him as a colleague. Yes.
So, Senator, less than 24 hours later, police come out with a statement expressing doubt about an investigation which cannot be complete within 24 hours. What do you read of that?
Thank you, Fred. And what is happening in the political landscape in Kenya is very sad. That you can see people who are supposed to be, responsible people, like the Inspector General of Police, some senior politicians, claiming, for example, that Honorable Koimburi, abducted himself or staged, managed an abduction. The question that we should ask ourselves, Fred, is why would Honorable Koimburi, stage manage an abduction? They are saying that he was seeking sympathy. Sympathy for what? We do not have an election. Why would somebody seek for sympathy? Who is this that would seek sympathy by, taking themselves to a coffee plantation early in the morning, in the morning dew, in those circumstances, lie there, to get sympathy for what? So I think it's time that the authorities stopped taking Kenyans for granted. People should know that Kenyans are very much intelligent these days, and no less a person than the president himself, who used to say during his campaigns that wajinga waliisha Kenya. When you tell people that somebody can abduct themselves to get sympathy, you should go ahead and tell us sympathy for what? If you are going for elections, maybe in 1 or so weeks, then maybe you can be able now to craft that theory that somebody is trying to look for sympathy. But now for what? And like my colleague Nabi has said, are those, propounding that particular theory telling us that the whole church, the wife to Koimburi, that these are collaborators in the scheme, in quotes, to have himself abducted, while there were images of, it was a scary scene when he was abducted. And then, somebody is found in a coffee plantation. Then the police IG issues a very irresponsible statement that they went there, officers went there, and the environment did not match what was there on the clip. It is a big plantation. We do not know where the police, visited. And the other matter is, it is true, those who support the regime, their security men have been disarmed. And that's a fact. So they're exposed.
Do you enjoy security?
I am not enjoying any security for now. So let it be known by Kenyans that this government has exposed us. And that is why they want to do anything that they want against us, especially those of us who support the regime. The other thing that I would want to say, Fred, because I was in Karen Hospital on Monday to visit Honorable Koimburi, and we were briefed by the doctor who was attending Koimburi. And from what the doctor was telling us is happening to Koimburi, although these are medical details that are private, but he had been assaulted in a very bad way, but in a professional way. Those are the words of the doctor. Whatever pain was inflicted whatever was done must have been done in a very professional way, in a way that, because these are highly trained people, that they will assault you, but nothing will show outwardly, because these are professional hitmen, these are professional abductors, these are professional tormentors. And so, let people not hide their heads in the sand. The situation in Kenya is bad. The ICC, the international community should come in, because everybody is at risk. Look at the desperation that the National Assembly, having just ended its recess of about 3 weeks, the first business that they had was to discuss regarding Gachagua. And everybody, Fred, it's embarrassing that everybody who rose to speak in that house, I don't know whether my friend Nabi was there, that people decide to take Kenyans for granted. That you want to take the second part of a statement without considering the first part of the statement. Junet and Ichungwa should get very embarrassed. I don't attack personalities. But when you are talking about, Rigathi Gachagua is threatening that there will be, fighting in 2027, the first part of the statement must be made very clear to Kenyans. Rigathi Gachagua only said that if elections are missed, then 2027 will be worse than 2007. And Senator, it's an embarrassment.
We'll come to that story because it's also part of what we've covered here at TV47. But I'm more concerned right now about the safety of members. We've just come from a situation where, and you mentioned it, we lost one of members of parliament who was assassinated on a busy street in Nairobi. Now we see another one who's attacked, abducted, and now the reaction by police. Going forward, Senator here says he does not enjoy police protection as it is. What does that mean for the rest of Kenyans?
Fred, it is a very tricky situation. Even as a member of parliament who has privileges of enjoying state security, do I feel safe? The answer is no. And Fred, I speak this from the bottom of my heart. Why I'm saying this is because of a number of factors. And I hope the CS would not be blinded by politics, not to understand the gist of what I'm saying. A Catholic priest in Mount Kenya, in Nyandarua, was murdered, and nobody seems to be telling us exactly what happened. And the information reaching us is that prior to him being murdered, DCI officers had been to his home or residence. Less than 5 days ago, you are aware, one of the most popular and good-working priests, Catholic priest, in Rift Valley, in the K Marquette area, was murdered, brutally murdered by gunmen. I mean, and many other places we are seeing a lot of insecurity issues coming up, but we seem not to be paying attention. One of the things I know, when you see too much security, insecurity, there are two things that are causing it. One is that there is too much poverty, and therefore the public is reacting to survival means. The second one is that there's too much political disenchantment. And of course, the third one would be that there is political persecution from whichever way. And this is an issue that can affect the economy for years to come. This is an issue that can affect the psychological growth of the young generation. Sometimes I was calculating, why are the Gen Zs so mentally violent? I was calculating. And this is the effect of 2008. This is the effect of 2007. As an industrial psychologist, I can tell you, this is the people who were young at that time, and they saw the brutal murder of people. Fred, what I would be more interested in, and I've said it here last week, and I want to repeat it again, it is not the police and the CS for Interior to be on the front page denying, coming up with the schemes, possible reasons. It is for them to retreat in the situation room and act. Let the streets be safe, let homes be safe, let the fields be safe, let the roads be safe, let people's property be secure. They don't need to talk. They need to act, and people will feel safe. But talking and what's happening is the opposite. It doesn't make sense to me. So it is an issue that requires all of us First, to realize that there's a problem. Secondly, admit that there's a problem. And thirdly, work together. This country is for all of us.
Okay.
It's for all of us. Fred, you and I need to be safe. You need to be sure that when you are waking up at 4 to come to TV 47, you will arrive here safely. You need to be sure that if you are leaving these studios at 11, at midnight, you can go back home, not to sleep somewhere. That because I'm not sure I will reach my estate. I need to mingle with people. I don't need to have policemen around me. What have I stolen? Why must I be looking, when I see two people coming close, I want to be sure, who are these? Why is a senator moving closer to me? I need to be, because what have I done?
Right.
Yes.
I'll take you back to a few weeks when we had this incident of the late MP Ongondowere, the assassination, and immediately after that, the Speaker of the National Assembly curiously called for the vetting, or fresh vetting of all police officers handling VIP security of members of Parliament generally. And that raised a very curious thought in the minds of many Kenyans. The relationship between members of the National Assembly, senators, and the VIP protection that they enjoy. Is there an issue that should be addressed?
Well, Fred, again, you know, we keep mourning our dear friend, God rest his soul in peace, Ongondowere. And from what was over there, all over the media, it was like there was some, you know, collaboration between the killers and his aides, which is very sad. And it is true that the Honorable Speaker of the National Assembly actually suggested, I don't know whether he suggested or directed, that we relook at those that take care of our security, which is important. The question is, did it just end there? Was it just hot air? Has the Speaker of the National Assembly made any follow-up on the same suggestion or directive? Because that is something that should be done. But all having been said and done, Fred, it all depends on the integrity of the police officer. It all depends on the orders they receive from their bosses. The only good thing is that we are given an opportunity to at least pick an officer that you recommend the officer whom you would want to take care of you. That's the only grace. But training should be something continuous. And my colleague here will tell you that even as members of parliament, we keep, you know, being refreshed. We keep going for, you know, for conferences, for seminars, because people need to be, you know, retooled all the time. Because the challenges of security of 10 years ago may not be the same challenges today. So I think even without the Speaker of the National Assembly saying so, I think there should be, you know, a progressive, a systematic, you know, training and retraining and retooling of those that take care of our security and of the security of other people, even other Kenyans. But the problem with Kenya is that when something like that strikes us, then we'll offer all manner of suggestions, we will, you know, make all manner of directives, but the follow-up. So I think we should take this opportunity to challenge the Honorable Speaker of the National Assembly that what he said during the, you know, that very sad moment when we lost one of our own, that he follows up on that and sees to it that the VIP protection unit members, you know, are refreshed. Because it's important.
Right. Yeah. We want to leave that debate there. On the front page of the Star, they say police blocked from seeing MP Koimburi, who's still admitted at the Karen Hospital. Meanwhile, police released a statement, very quick statement, curiously, expressing doubts about the authenticity of the alleged crime. I want us to move on to another debate, which was before Parliament yesterday. and I think, Senator, you had mentioned about the fact that the former Deputy President, Rigathi Gachagua, was a subject of debate yesterday in the National Assembly over his remarks when he talked about the post-election violence of 2007, 2008. It is part of the stories covered here at TV47. Gachagua facing Christmas fury. Let's watch that story, then discuss the same.
Members of Parliament today have weighed in on the remarks by former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua that likened the 2007-2008 post-election violence to a Christmas party, arguing that if left unchecked, such remarks could escalate ethnic tensions ahead of the 2027 elections.
Usipoziba ufa utajenga ukuta, Mr. Speaker. If we do not arrest this matter as early as now, Mr. Speaker, this is a man who has lost his head. This is a man who has lost his soul, and he wants to take this country to the precipice so that people can fight, Mr. Speaker.
I know he's only served one term in Parliament, so he may not understand. And half a term as a Deputy President. But, Speaker, there is always opportunities. Let him relax because he says he's a man of God, or at least he says his wife Dorcas is a woman of God. Let them appeal to God and use their godly words to bring unity to the country.
Former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua declined to honor summons issued by the National Cohesion and Integration Commission, accusing the NCIC of bias and selective application of the law, arguing that the commission has failed to act against President William Ruto's allies, who have also made inflammatory remarks.
Honorable Speaker, I'll take you back to the events of last year. Kenyans will remember on the 25th of June, after what happened, Honorable Speaker, the kind of incitement they saw from the same person, because he believes in bloodshed, that unless people die, he cannot achieve his mission, Honorable Speaker.
So such a person is not a leader, he's a criminal, and we should be discussing how we should have him arrested and charged for those crimes, contrary to the NCIC Act. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The MPs now want the Inspector General of Police to compel Rigathi Gachagua to honor the summons by the NCIC.
Honorable Speaker, I seconded the motion of his impeachment when it came to this motion. But I think it is not enough, Honorable Speaker. I think Geoffrey Rigathi Gachagua must be brought back to this House for another impeachment.
Sheila Chelangat for TV4.
Yes, many politicians and allies of the former Deputy President have sought to clarify the statement, including the former Deputy President himself clarifying what he meant. But we're seeing more and more calls for him to get arrested. Bwana Nabwera, you were here last week and we talked about this arrest and the fact that many people were seeing like there were attempts to silence dissenters. And you mentioned the case of George Natembeya, the governor of Trans Nzoia, and you criticized the way the government looked at it. What would you say about this one?
Not only criticized, and I predicted what would happen, and I thought you saw what happened on Monday. I told you there is something in political theory that says that when the public gets disillusioned with government, they will go with anyone or anybody who is at government. So when the government must then be careful in strategy, even if they are dealing with a critical thing as corruption. I say that. I have a completely different view on what happened yesterday in Parliament. In the sense that Parliament, we have two things to deal with here. Do we want to spend time on political posturing? Or do we want to spend time on solution provision to what is happening? I've read and many times looked at what the former deputy president said. Truth be told, nobody wants to be reminded. My neighbors were thrown out. My neighbors in Mautuma, they were thrown out. They have moved, many of them moved to Gilgil. Some we had intermarried. Nobody wants to be reminded. But nobody also wants to bury the head in the sand. What can easily cause a situation like that? So the question is, how do we take caution? How do we take caution? And I'm of the view that we should be speaking about what we need to do not to ever have a situation like that. One, deliver credible election. Two, attend to public demand. Basic. Basic.
What about the calls to arrest Rigathi Gachagua?
It is neither here nor there. That's why I call it political posturing. It's neither here nor there. Do you want to cause more disunity in the country? In all these things, there's one thing that we must take care of. A united Kenya. A peaceful state for investment. There's too much polarization. There is too much polarization. Sometimes when things happen the way they happened, at the spur of the moment, I retreat to rethink on how I will need to talk to my colleagues and say, look, can we think through this thing slightly more beyond what we are thinking? Yes. Because, Fred, I'm worried that politics of 2027 has come a bit too early. And we may not do much. Who will be hurt? That kid in school. And that's why, and I want to thank my chairman, Meli, when we go to speak as a committee of education, and we said, Meli, we can see money being taken to things that are politically correct, but are not socio-economically correct. Can we provide money for exams? And we did it, right? If we are not careful, because politics of 2027 is coming a bit too early, we are going to lose on the economic development. World Bank, I was looking at the statistics yesterday, they are saying they are now revising downwards our growth, which had been estimated at 5%, it's gone down to 4.5. Our debt to GDP ratio is at 62%. Those are the issues, my brother. We all need to be thinking through, how do we deal with this?
All right. Senator, the calls for the arrest of the former deputy president, or for him to be compelled by the police IG to do something, what do you make of that? And what kind of consequence would come with that?
Fred, I had started by saying that it is, I personally got very disappointed that the whole National Assembly, the leaders from both sides, I mean both the majority leader, the minority leader, the deputy speaker, I have seen Owen Baya, the deputy majority leader, that all these people, and it's a very sad day yesterday was a very sad day for Kenyans, that all these people decide to conveniently avoid the first part of the statement and go to the second part of the statement because of the hatred and the direction that Ruto has given them to go and, to go and portray somebody in a negative light and ignore the first. Fred, I have a teaching background. And every one of us went to school. Anytime our teachers talked to us, they told us that if we did not prepare for exams, we were going to fail. It is such a situation that we have here that Rigathi Gachagua is saying, if we do not deliver credible elections, we will be in trouble with Kenyans. It is that simple. So you can liken it to parents, actually not even students. Parents, you know, rising up in arms and saying, no, this is a teacher that we do not need here. This is a teacher who is spelling doom for our children, because of telling them that if they do not prepare, if they do not study hard, they are going to fail. He's just telling our students that they will fail and conveniently avoid the first part, which is, if you do not study, you will fail. If you do not prepare adequately for the upcoming exams, you will fail. So everybody picks, I mean, including leaders, a quarrel with the second part of the statement that, you know, this is a prophet of doom. He's saying our children are going to fail. But they conveniently avoid talking about the most important thing in that particular statement: prepare for the exam. So Rigathi Gachagua is the greatest patriot in this particular thing. He's saying, I love Kenya so much. I would not want to see Kenya slide into anarchy in 2027. And so because I love this country, please, IEBC, make sure that you deliver a credible election. Otherwise, if you don't, then you will be doing disservice to Kenya, because Kenyans could even start fighting one another.
And why doesn't he just honor the summons by the NCIC, go before the...
No, yes, that's a very good question. That's a very good question. Why doesn't he honor the summons by NCIC? I think I want to ask also, I mean, this NCIC, I mean, it has not shown that it is impartial. It has not shown in its recent past, it has not shown that it is there to deliver cohesion. And why do I say that? Just by Rigathi Gachagua saying that if elections are not credible, there will be problems, you summon Rigathi Gachagua. While Farah Maalim said that he would kill 5,000 Gen Zs every day, and NCIC was, you know, was deaf to that. Well, Oscar Sudi is saying that they will make sure that President Ruto will be president next time. I mean, after 2027. I mean, in a way, suggesting that it is not the results of the elections of 2027 that will give us a president. They will do other things. Nobody that has not heard Kamket saying that they know how to manufacture a president for 24 years, tukicheza. You know, those are the people that NCIC should have started by summoning to show, you'll get your time, Nabi, to show that it is an impartial body, that it is not partisan. So why would you present yourself before a body that has shown that it is taking directives from the president or the government, which is fighting you all the time, including even adjourning important business like Nabi is saying here about Kenya's, the economy and all of you, to discuss you and portray you in negative light. And let me say, before I exit from that, Fred, you know, sometimes we watch at people like Junet and we are like, just what happened to our country? You even say, usipoziba ufa, utajenga ukuta. You know, that is exactly what Rigiji was saying. Ziba ufa, you know, don't deliver elections that are incredible. Otherwise, if you do, utajenga ukuta. Then he twists that. He should come to me for some Swahili lessons. I'm a Kiswahili teacher, and tell him what this particular saying means. I mean, the other thing that I have not addressed the issue of being arrested. Gladys Bush-Sholay is on record saying that anything and everything that the president tells her, she delivers. So I want to believe, and you know, Rigathi Gachagua was almost arrested the other Sunday, but we escaped the police dragnet. What these people want, and the script is, and when you hear Gladys Sholay talk, it is the president talking. The script is, and that is why the arrest of Rigathi Gachagua was the major call by the National Assembly yesterday. The script is arrest Rigathi Gachagua because the script is arrest Rigathi Gachagua, and in that confinement, then see whether you can be able to introduce things into his body, whether by injection of or making him inhale some substances to make him a cabbage. So that, because they are scared of Rigathi Gachagua. They are scared of Rigathi Gachagua because I can tell you, Rigathi Gachagua will send Ruto home. And that is why they are so scared. That is why parliamentary business has to be suspended. And we must also call on the Speaker of the National Assembly to also be giving equal opportunity to those that are opposed to Rigathi Gachagua and those that support Rigathi Gachagua. Otherwise, the National Assembly is becoming the theater of the absurd. It is sad, it is regrettable, it is not acceptable. Let people, let people even show they went to school, that you can be able to interpret a whole statement, not a part of the statement. Okay. It's embarrassing, especially for the leadership of the National Assembly on both sides. Okay. The minority and the majority side.
Yes, my view is this, Fred, that we cannot use the wrong that NCIC failed to summon the names Senator is naming for Gachagua, the former deputy president, not to appear before NCIC. In fact, for me, it's a very good opportunity for him to go and have a discussion with them and also point out to them that, look, guys, thank you for inviting me here. This is what I meant, but I'm a Kenyan, like all of us. I also want to know why you are not treating this matter of so-and-so not in the same manner. So, because it's a national leader, we cannot run away from it. And so on, so on, so on, so on. So for me, if you are to ask me, Senator, and I will encourage you to encourage the former deputy president to go and have a date with the NCIC and also put them straight on some of these issues. It is true that NCIC have tended to have two sides. Today they say this is black, tomorrow it turns out to be white. They need to be consistent if we have to produce a country that can be, all of us can be proud of. They need to deliver justice for all. But that one wrong cannot right another wrong. So for me, he has an opportunity and a good opportunity for all of us as a country to go and speak to NCIC. But Fred, what is my issue? What is my issue? What is more hurting to this country than, if you look at page 2 of the nations, patients suffers doctors in 3 counties go on strike.
It's actually the main story on the front page.
Yes, and on page 3, medic hired during COVID dies chasing parks for 5 years. Can we reconfigure our political theater to address these issues that are created? We are losing ourselves. In fact, the sad story about this thing is that the former deputy president may have just redirected the government from delivering their promise, and they are not realizing. And that could be his political strategy. That could be his political strategy. So people continue chasing wind, and they leave the marrow. They leave the animal. The animal here being addressing concerns of Medicare, the UHC 8,571 And I have an issue which I want to bring to the House this week on this. We need to find a solution because there are no nurses in hospitals. We need these people. And I've asked myself a question. What is national good? To me, this is of national good and national importance. I would prioritize this to be number one.
Okay. Right. I now want us to move to some politics. I know even that has been political, but this is something that we are seeing, especially in the Mount Kenya region, and we are seeing an exchange between the former deputy president and his successor, the current deputy president. And this will form the basis of a discussion around what the former deputy president has done in as far as directing musicians from that region to follow a certain line. It is part of the stories on TV 47, the battle between the deputies. Let's watch that story. All right. So this story, I think, even as we wait for that, for us to line up that story, on the front page of the Daily Nation, we're talking about Samido, who's one of those musicians, and he's already in trouble with his employer, the Police Service Commission, because of his Ruto one-term song. It is also there on the inside pages, and I hope I can trace it fast enough, about what the former deputy president has done in directing musicians. It is on page 7 of the Star. Samido faces the music over one. There's a different story now, still to do with musicians. I think it should be on the Star. Standard, rather. It is there. Yes, page 8. Gachagua bullies Mount Kenya musicians into submission after visit, and this visit is to the current deputy president. When former deputy president Rigathi Gachagua threatened a boycott of artists who last week met deputy president Kithure Kindiki, he suggested he was doing so on behalf of the community. But before we do that, let's take a short break. We'll be back to continue with that conversation.
Our world is changing every day, and so should we, for the better. Each week, we tackle the big why, the question that should be on everyone's minds. Why isn't this fixed yet? Deforestation, global warming, and the adverse effects of climate change. The future isn't just something that we inherit, it's something that we create. Join us on The Green Fix as we tell the stories of those who refuse to give up. When it comes to fixing the planet, there is no time to waste. Join me, Shiksha Arora, on Thursdays at 9 p.m. on The Green Fix as we look into the big why, you and I.
For comprehensive information and education on your health, Body Garage is here.
Don't allow anyone to pluck out your good tooth as long as it is strong and stable.
Cancer doesn't start today and you get the symptoms tomorrow. By the time you pick it or the time it is manifesting in you, probably will be there about 5 to 10 years.
The eye is the window to the rest of the body.
Don't forget to stay hydrated.
And of course, you at home do take your water.
So the ultimate test is actually you check your urine. Your urine should be clear.
Clear like the water?
Yes. Should be able to see the other side of the urine. If your urine is colored or has changed color, you cannot see the other side, then you have not taken enough water.
Don't forget regular health checkups. Early detection saves lives.
I want the message be
we can prevent cervical cancer. We prevent cervical cancer in several ways. You have young girls and even somebody who's above that age, you can pay at least every 3 years. Somebody should have a pap smear done.
If you are 40, 45, 50, going upwards, once a year, please go see a doctor. Yeah, it's just for normal routine maintenance.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive.
Welcome back. You're watching Morning Cafe and TV47. Within a few minutes or so, we'll be crossing over to the Safari Park for the National Prayer Breakfast. But before that, I'd like us to look at this issue about what the former Deputy President asked musicians and the tiff between the former Deputy President and his successor over musicians from the Mount Kenya region. Senator, there are those who are saying the former Deputy President is just being too abrasive and a bit of a bully because there's a right for every Kenyan to associate with whoever they want.
Thank you, Fred. And because we don't have time, I'll be very quick. The second Deputy President has no issue with the musicians visiting the nominated Deputy President. I mean, the issue that...
You just call him nominated?
Okay, appointed, sorry. I should say appointed Deputy President, because of course you know he was not elected through universal suffrage, like Rigathi Gachagua. He was appointed by Ruto, sorry, not nominated, but appointed. All we are saying, all Rigi said is that these musicians are sellout. And why did he say they are sellouts? One, they sang a song there, 2-term. And they are also sellouts because these are musicians from one community. I mean, there are no musicians from the other areas of Kenya. And so it was not about empowerment of musicians, because even the Deputy President, and you know they keep telling us that even the President said in Meru that this Deputy President does not see himself as a persona from the mountain. He sees himself as a national. I mean, why would he call on the musicians from Mount Kenya and not musicians from other regions? And so when they sang 2-term, then it meant that these are traitors. And why do we say they are traitors? They are traitors because, Fred, Mount Kenya is the greatest casualty of Ruto's, falsehoods. And this is where Ruto got 47% of his vote. But he has betrayed the community. And so anybody, in the eyes of the community, anybody, working with Ruto and, supporting Ruto's agenda is a traitor. They can also call whoever they want a traitor.
Including those in cabinet?
I mean, especially those that, like these musicians. Those in cabinet, of course, got there even before the betrayal started. But there are those that have gotten in there, and they're also traitors, I can tell you that. Because you know where they belonged. I mean, when we went for elections, talk of Kagwe, talk of Kabogo, talk of Liki Nyanjui, nobody doesn't know where they belonged in the last elections. And talk about the other ministers that sometimes nobody knows them. I mean, because Ruto wants people he can be able to manage. And so what we are saying is, these are traitors to the community. And why, just a minute, because I know it will be interpreted that I'm tribalistic. What we are saying is, they are traitors because, of course, they were not there to advance the interests of the region they come from. And the traitors are also there. I mean, anybody accusing me of being, saying that somebody from a particular region is a traitor only needs to look at the intolerance with this government. Look at Gloria Oroba. Just because of, attending an event where Matiang'i was welcomed back to the country because of the insecurity of this government.
Isn't that the same thing?
That's what you are saying, that nobody should... If Gloria is a traitor to them, then those of us from our region, our people being called to go against the feeling of the community, it's the greatest casualty. They are traitors. But most importantly, because you're talking about the battle of the deputies, Fred. Most importantly, you know, we are telling the sitting deputy president that he should, you know, do things that are tangible to the people, that we do not want to see him leading, you know, members of parliament to come to our region, bringing sometimes beans, you know, sometimes blow dryers and that kind of thing, when we know that in Ruto's backyard, young men and women are getting, you know, jobs from the defense forces, the police, teachers, and that kind of. We want to see him also talking about coffee and talking about tea and talking, most importantly, and fighting illicit brews.
Allow me to give Bwana just a short opportunity to comment on this because we need to cross over to the prayer breakfast.
Yes.
I mean, just a minute. Let's talk about sellouts and traitors. Is it what we should be talking about at this time?
Actually, we are, as ourselves, as a community of Kenya, going against our own constitution. One of the things about this constitution is the right to associate with whoever you want. This constitution, 2010 constitution, guarantees freedoms and it guarantees social, economic and political rights. And one of them is the right of association, the right to eke a living, which the musicians are doing. There is only one point that we need to deal with here. First, what has Gachagua done? He is just borrowing a script from my party leader. At one time, we were asked to boycott Safaricom. We were asked to boycott Brookside. We were one time asked to boycott KCB. We were asked to boycott the Star. It's a political strategy. I cannot begrudge Gachagua. But all I want to ask Gachagua, and Senator, I know you are an insider, is you need to think slightly more that we say in my mother tongue, and Fred will tell you, that when chickens come home and there is, they are celebrating, you will see gain falls also coming in there.
All right.
So that's my take.
Okay.
That the musicians in Mount Kenya could be just gain falls, which I've seen that there is celebrations by chickens.
Okay.
And therefore they need to gain.
I'll give you each about 60 seconds for your final comment. Just a parting shot, Senator, before we cross over.
Thank you, Fred. I think I would want to call upon President Ruto and his government to be tolerant. Because the intolerance we are seeing is too high, that they have already impeached Rigathi Gachagua, and they are still following him. Any statement that he makes, it is taken out of context just to continue portraying him as a tribalist, a very bad leader, a dissident. But then I also want to tell Ruto that we understand the stress that he is under to see to it that Rigathi Gachagua will see him go home. Okay. I mean, let people like Gloria be. She just accompanied Matiang'i. Let somebody like Samido be. You just because of saying one term, you want to discipline a police officer who is also an entertainer. Let us see more tolerance, but most importantly, let Rigiji be, and Ruto will still go home, whether they kill Rigiji or not. 2027 is the end of Ruto's presidency.
Kenya belongs to all of us, and whether in the opposition or in government, we must ask ourselves this cardinal question. Are our actions in support of a continued progressive nation state, or are we jeopardizing the survival of generations to come? I also want to request the national leaders, including Parliament, to refocus their attention on healthcare infrastructure development, and more importantly, provision of affordable, if not free, education for our people.
Thank you so much. Is any of you heading to Safari Park for the National Prayer Breakfast?
No, personally, I cannot go there to pretend because the people that will be there are people who use the church and prayers for personal political gain while they don't actually even believe in God, led by William Ruto. I cannot go.
I've never understood the focus of the National Prayer Breakfast up to today.
Okay. Anyway, time for us to shift focus to what's happening at the Safari Park Hotel, where the National Prayer Breakfast is currently underway under the theme Rise and Rebuild. President William Ruto is leading over 2,000 leaders in attending this annual ritual, which usually happens on every last Thursday of May, but this time a break from tradition, it's happening on a Thursday. The events are underway. Let's head there.